This is the Model Kits for Beginners tutorial part 3. This part is about spray and brush painting. There will be some what to do's and some what not to do's. And I've got a couple of example kits here to help you, or to illustrate, I suppose, my points. So first, what you want to do is, while you're still at the store buying your kit, usually, let me see if I can find a box lid here to illustrate my point. There we go. I bumped that, but I always save all my box lids. I don't know why, but some of them can collapse. So, what I do while I'm at the store is, if you look on the back, it'll have some specs about the car. So, the dimensions of the car, the plastic car, the pieces, the body molded in, like the color that the body is molded in, and the type of decals. Then it will give you a bit of things about the car, and then it will give you the paints right here. So what I do is I look at this list of paints, and I think about which paints I already have at home and which paints I still need to buy. So that then, well, I'm already at the store and I can buy the paints while I'm there. So, once you are ready to paint, it will say in your instruction book what color, like the colors and stuff. So you have your piece. Just pretend this is a piece of exhaust manifold. It's got some Sharpie on it. Okay, so let's say I wanted to paint this flat aluminum. So if I haven't used this paint today, I'll give it a good shake. And if I have used it today, I'll just give it a minor shake. So then what I do is I grab my tweezers. Usually I use these tweezers, these fine-nosed tweezers. And I get my brushes. And these are the brushes that I have decided to use because they're the best of my brushes. So I've got a big flat one for big surfaces that need brushes. And I've got this little round one. This is the one I use the most. Definitely. Oops. And then I've got 3 flat ones. I hardly ever use these at all. And this is probably my favorite. This is a very fine modeling brush. Has just a couple of bristles. I'm not sure if that's focusing. Well, not just a couple, but it's very small, as you can see. And it has this plastic cap so that the bristles don't get messed up. I use this for a lot of stuff. So what I do usually is once I'm done shaking up the paint, I take it and I go like this and bang it like that, so that then when I unscrew it, you can see there's paint on the cap. So that now what I can do is, if it's something larger and I'm using like this brush, this is the round one, then I would dip it into the paint can itself, and I dip it into paint can and brush it on like that. But if I were to use this brush, this is the fine one, or a toothpick, I dip it in the cap and put it on. That way I don't get too much on the brush. And so then I leave it to dry. Usually one thing I don't worry about is putting paint where the toothpick or the tweezer head thingies are, because usually I find that the paint just kind of seeps in and finds its way into there by itself. So that's just something that I figured out. And also one thing that I've found is that I should have mentioned this in the previous episode, but when I am gluing, I can take a couple of those paint jars and I can just set them on certain parts if they're large enough to weight them down so that they will stick. So now I can just let that dry, and then I'd wash my paints. So I've got my paint washer here. This is really nice because it's practically non-spill. And I've got my face cloth. So this is practically non-spill because you just got this little microwave hole. So I take my brush, I stick it in and wave it around a bit to get the paint off. And then I usually give it a dab on this and then put it in again. And get the paint off. It's best to use an old face cloth or washcloth. And then you can get the paint off the brush, so I don't have to go out to the kitchen every time I need to wash a brush. So I'm going to do the same with this one. And it may look like you're messing up the bristles, but once you dry it, it pretty well fixes the bristles for you. And if you get one like this, I'd try to always put it back in its plastic cap as often as you can. That'll keep it from getting messed up. And so then close that. And so it's nice and easy with that. And now we'll get into the what not to do section. And, well, I suppose I'll do a bit of advice on what to do first here. This is one of my kits that I did. I'll just reposition. This is the Buick Grand National model kit that I did, 1987. This is a pretty good kit. I liked this. And this is something about what to do. This model, mostly they come molded in white plastic, but this one came molded in black. So all I had to do was spray it with clear coat. And clear coat basically makes it shiny. You can see it's really reflective now. So I didn't spray it with black at all, because it was already in black. I just clear coated it. And that's a nice little tip, or handy thing, is if it comes molded in the color that you want the car to be, or that it says it's going to be on the box, then you don't have to spray that color. You can just clear coat it, and it'll give it a nice shine. This here will be a prime example of what not to do. This is a 1999 Ford F-150 Lightning pickup truck. As you might be able to see, cab is a lighter shade of red than the box. That was due to human error. This was set in the instructions to do a two-tone box, so black inside, red outside. And so what I did is I sprayed the red on the box and the cab, and then I took the cab out of my paint area when it was dry, and this was only maybe a day after I sprayed the box. I took masking tape or painter's tape and I put it around here, and maybe on that, I'm not sure, and then around here and stuff like that, so that it would not get black paint on the body. And then I sprayed it black. Then when I took the masking tape off, it tore off a lot of the red paint where it had been. And so I had to find a way to cover up this box and spray it again in red, which gave me the darker box than body. So if you plan to do something like this, either do it with a brush or wait several days before, at least 2 days before you put the masking tape on so that it does not tear off the paint. That is the what not to do, well, one of the what not to do's for this episode. Now, this is my painting area. It is in the basement, as you can see. So, some things that are essential for a paint area are, of course, paint and a dust mask. This is very important. The fumes can get awful even if it's acrylic spray. And you also want a nice surface, so yeah, I always wear this dust mask when I paint. This is my paint table. It's got a lot of different colors of sprays, 3 different shades of red. I've got a banner red, a bright red, and a flat red. I've got an orange, brown, metallic blue, satin black, high gloss black, flat black, that's a gloss black, I've got metallic blue, bright yellow, gold, chrome yellow, flat white, gold, and I think these might be clear coat. So, I'll just stick with this first. What I have here are some things. I've got this rag so that I can wipe off my hands if I get paint on them. I've got this. This is just a colored pencil. This is for if I'm working on something on my spray table, I can just scooch it and I can move it there without having to touch it. And this big screwdriver is for cans like this. That has a hole there, so what you're supposed to do is stick a screwdriver in there and twist it and the cap should come off. That's what that's for. And then I've got these. These are words, old words you need to know things from when I was like 8. But they're white on the back, so they're good for testing colors. So for example, I have some tests here with some blues and reds and with different blacks and with the gold and the yellow. So those are pretty handy. And some things on your paint table that you want to have are these. These are railroad pins, I think. Or at least that's what we use them for. We have a model train layout and a bunch of extra ones of these pins. And these are really, really handy. Because mainly if you're spraying with, what do you call that? Enamel paint. Especially if you're spraying with enamel paint. I found this out the hard way. If you put too much paint on something and it's just sitting on your paint surface, it will melt the plastic and stick it to your paint surface. So these are really good for holding the stuff that you're painting up off the ground, and they will not stick to these pins. You can probably buy these at most hobby shops, especially train hobby shops. So these, I do find these really handy. Also good for light parts, where if I spray them, then they will kind of be blown away by the aerosolness of the spray. And so that works really well. My paint area is 2 boxes, so it's at a nice height, empty. And then there's a piece of pink styrofoam under there. And then a piece of cardboard. And styrofoam is so that these pins will stick in and stay. They won't move very easily. That's what that's for. And then, as you can see, there's a bunch of things there, and that's when I was spraying and testing and stuff. So, like, when you're just starting to paint, you want to shake it up for a minute, just so that you get all of the, well, I'm not sure why, but it says you're supposed to shake it, so I would recommend doing that. Then, you want to put on a dust mask, which I'm going to do for this example. Okay, now I've got this test pad thing. Take that, and I'll take the cap off. I'm going to be spraying left-handed, so it's not going to be extremely good. So, what I like to do is I just do a couple of test sprays there, and then I can do the spray. So now, a big thing that you want to do is, when you're spraying, don't stop right at the very end or in the middle, because then you get a run, which is a lot of paint building up and, well, running down your piece of plastic. So, you want to go past the end, but not too far, or else you'll be wasting paint. And then once you're done, you want to turn the can upside down and spray for a second either until paint stops coming out or until less paint is coming out. And that will clean your nozzle. And so that works pretty well. The fumes can get kind of bad. That's why I wear the dust mask. And now I'm going to show you something about what not to do. This is a perfect... Well, there's two more what not to do's, and they are big. One of them's big, the second one isn't. I'll give you the not very big one first, and that is when you're spraying, when you're leaving it to dry, dust can get on your piece and stick in the paint. Especially, like, even if it's dusty before you start, or if the dust gets in there after you're done spraying. Doesn't really matter. If dust gets in it while it's drying, then it will stay there and show. So if it's left on your shelf, you might not be able to tell because there might be other dust on it. But that's just the thing. Try not to get the area very dusty when you're spraying, or else dust can get in your paint. The other thing is why I switched to using cardboard and not just regular old styrofoam to spray on, and that is because apparently with this too, what kind of paint is this? Where does it say? I think this is acrylic, but I can't seem to find where it says that, but I'm pretty sure that this is an acrylic paint. But this one, with acrylic and enamel paint, this one I'm sure is enamel. It is very corrosive on styrofoam. This piece of styrofoam used to look like this on both sides. Now it looks like this on one side, and that on the other side. As you can see, it's corroded holes, and it's eaten away at the styrofoam, and the vapors of that cannot be good for your lungs. So that's another reason to use a dust mask. It corrodes, and it gets on it, and it digs it away wherever your piece is not, like big gashes in your styrofoam. So that's why I have foam underneath and cardboard on top. I think that might be it for this episode. There will be one more. There is an epilogue.